The clumsiest bank robber who caught himself. This is the McArthur Wheeler case, 1995, a robber who used lemon juice as invisibility. In 1995, a man walked into two banks in broad daylight with absolutely no disguise. He smiled at the cameras. He made no attempt to hide his face. Why? Because he genuinely believed he was completely invisible. This is the bizarre true story of the bank robbery on January 5, 1995. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. McArthur Wheeler woke up that morning with a plan. He was going to rob not one, but two banks. And he had discovered what he believed was the perfect disguise. Earlier that day, Wheeler had learned something fascinating. Had been told that lemon juice could be used as invisible ink. The logic in his mind was simple. If lemon juice makes ink invisible on paper, then lemon juice on his face would make his face invisible to cameras. So Wheeler squeezed lemon juice all over his face and headed out to commit his crimes. At 2:40 p.m., he walked into the Fidelity Savings Bank in Swissvale. No mask, no sunglasses, nothing. He walked straight up to the teller, pointed what appeared to be a gun, and demanded cash. The teller, understandably terrified, handed over the money. Wheeler smiled directly at the security camera and walked out with $3,164. But he wasn't done. Success at the first bank had made him confident. Just 3 hours later, at 5:48 p.m., Wheeler struck again at the Mellon Bank in Homestead. Same method. Lemon juice on his face. No disguise. Direct eye contact with cameras. This time he got away with $5,326. That evening, Wheeler went home feeling like a criminal mastermind. Had robbed two banks in broad daylight and walked away invisible. But the Pittsburgh police had a very different perspective. By 11 p.m. that same night, Wheeler's face was all over the local news. The security camera footage was crystal clear. Every detail of his face was visible. Bank employees had given perfect descriptions. Detectives had no trouble identifying him. He had previous arrests in the system. Less than 24 hours after the robberies, police showed up at Wheeler's door. They arrested him without incident. And here's where the story gets truly bizarre. Wheeler was utterly shocked. He kept saying, "But I wore the juice. I wore the juice." He couldn't understand how the cameras had captured his face. He had genuinely believed he was invisible. The detectives were baffled. They'd caught many criminals over the years, but this was something entirely new. Wheeler wasn't acting. He wasn't playing on defense. He truly, genuinely believed that lemon juice would make him invisible to cameras. Officers even showed him the security footage. Wheeler stared at the screen in disbelief, watching himself clearly visible on tape. Wheeler's case caught the attention of two Cornell University psychologists, David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger. They were fascinated by a simple question: how could someone be so wrong about their own abilities? This led to groundbreaking research. In 1999, Dunning and Kruger published their findings, and Wheeler's case became the inspiration for what we now call the Dunning-Kruger Effect. And here's what they discovered. People who are incompetent at something often lack the very skills needed to recognize their own incompetence. In other words, they're too unskilled to know they're unskilled. Let me explain this with Wheeler's case. Wheeler didn't understand how cameras worked. He didn't understand chemistry. He didn't understand light refraction. Because he lacked this knowledge, he couldn't recognize that his lemon juice theory was completely wrong. His ignorance made him overconfident. The research showed this pattern appears everywhere. Poor drivers rate themselves as above average. Bad chess players think they're better than they are. Students who fail tests often predict they did well. The key finding: the less competent you are, the more you overestimate your abilities. The more competent you are, the more you might actually underestimate yourself because you're aware of how much you don't know. Wheeler's case is the perfect example. He was so confident in his lemon juice theory that he literally bet his freedom on it. He never questioned it, never tested it properly, never sought a second opinion. His incompetence in chemistry and technology made him blind to his own incompetence in planning a crime. The irony? If Wheeler had been smarter, he would have known he wasn't smart enough to rob banks successfully. McArthur Wheeler was convicted on 2 counts of armed robbery. He was sentenced to 24 years in federal prison. But his legacy extended far beyond his prison sentence. The Dunning-Kruger effect has become one of the most cited concepts in social psychology. It's been referenced in thousands of academic papers. It's taught in psychology courses worldwide. Wheeler's face, the one he thought was invisible, became the face of overconfidence and cognitive bias. David Dunning later reflected on the case, saying, "If you're incompetent, you can't know you're incompetent. The skills you need to produce a right answer are exactly the skills you need to recognize what a right answer is." Today, psychologists use the Dunning-Kruger effect to explain everything from political polarization to why people refuse to wear masks during a pandemic. It helps us understand why some people are so confidently wrong about science, medicine, and expertise. Wheeler's story teaches us a valuable lesson. Confidence is not the same as competence. And sometimes, the most dangerous person is the one who doesn't know what they don't know. The McArthur Wheeler case reminds us that sometimes the biggest obstacle to success isn't external. It's our own overestimation of our abilities. Before you make a major decision, ask yourself, do I actually understand this as well as I think I do? Have I tested my assumptions? Have I sought expert advice? Because the difference between success and failure might just be knowing what you don't know. If you found this case fascinating, wait until you hear about the killer who was caught because of a selfie. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. We'll see you in the next case file.